Today, I'm setting up my biggest jam ever, I think. And we're going to get to it as soon as I shout out today's patron. And that shout out goes to CyberGwen. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. It is a beautiful morning here in Oregon. It's a rainy one. It's nice and cozy. So I figured, what better time than to set up for the jam I promised last week between all of my favorite pieces of gear, which are right here, except for the Roland MC707, which is in the house. I haven't moved it out here to the Beat Barn yet, and that's because of the rain. I need to grab this towel here, and that will make it a little easier to bring outside, I think, here to the barn.
Also, I hope this audio is okay. The rain is coming down pretty hard. There's a metal roof here in the barn, and I think for this video, I'm just going to be using the microphone on the GoPro case that I have on. It should be decent. I've used it for my Patreon vlogs before, and no one seems to have any complaints, but if it doesn't sound that great, I am sorry.
Yeah, definitely a black coffee type of morning. Let's go get the MC707. I prepped this and put it on the bed in our bedroom, so it's easier to easier to grab, faster to grab. There, that should work. The rain has let up just a little bit, so that's nice. Okay, we made it. Cool. And no water. Okay, let's take everything out of cases. I also filled my backpack up with a bunch of stuff I'll need, including my Canon G7X, as well as the Zoom H6 Essential, which is going to be the audio recorder for this session here. And some sorted power, but we'll leave that in the backpack for now. So the first thing we need to figure out is the physical layout of this setup, I think. What gear do we want going into other gear, you know? And I think the first combo I'm actually seeing here is running the Microfreak, which does not have its own effects, into the SP404, possibly. Or maybe we'll put the 404 at the end of the chain. That could be good too. The MC707 can give reverb to the Microfreak. Actually, everything here could give reverb to the Microfreak and delay, which in my opinion is all it really needs to shine effects-wise. But yeah, the MC707, the KO2, and the Woofbox can all give effects to incoming audio. So I guess that makes it a bit more flexible, doesn't it? You know what I think I want to do? I think I want to treat these a little separately, actually. I think I want the Woofbox audio to go into the KO2. Then we can sample it and do fun stuff with it there. And then I think I want the Microfreak audio to go into the 707, but also act as a MIDI controller for the 707 so I can play stuff in. And then everything will go out through the 404 Mark II. Yeah, that seems like a pretty fun setup, actually. The interesting thing here about my top 5 pieces of gear, and by the way, if you haven't checked that video, be sure to go give it a watch, but 4 of the 5 of these are pretty much groove boxes. I know this is more like a this kind of versatile sampler. Just realized I didn't really clean the barn up at all either. Got my blower over there, some fencing right there. Oh well, it's fine. This is more just kind of an all-around sampler, but can be used as a groove box. Absolutely a groove box, absolutely a groove box, and absolutely a groove box. Obviously a synthesizer. So the fact that all of them do somewhat similar things may hinder me a bit, or make me feel like I'm not taking full advantage of, you know, everything these pieces of gear can do, which is definitely going to be the case, actually. We won't be able to take advantage of everything. So let's think about cable routing. So we're going to go the output of the Woofbox into the input of the KO2, and then we're going to go the output of the Microfreak into one of the external ins here on the 707. Now what's interesting is we could actually route the output of the KO2 into the return jacks here on the 707 and actually use it as a second pair of inputs. And then everything would be routed through the 707, which that might be how we do things. And then of course, just the output of the 707 into the input of the 404 right there. And then of course, there's also the question of MIDI. How do we want to plug all of this stuff in with MIDI. I think I'm just going to play the Woof box with my hands, and then I think the only MIDI I need is the MIDI out of the Microfreak going into the MIDI in of the 707. Not exactly sure though. We might not actually need MIDI at all. We might just kind of jam and treat the Woof box as a drum machine and this as the sort of effects for it, possibly. Not gonna lie, it's a little harder than I thought it would be to figure out exactly how I want to set all this up. This also does highlight the main reason I prefer just working with one or maybe two pieces of gear. And that's that at my heart, I'm a more traditional musician. I like to compose and write music rather than worry about tweaking knobs on a whole bunch of things and, you know, having to plug in cables absolutely everywhere. Like I mentioned, I've gravitated towards all-in-one devices, and that is a good reason why. I almost went over here, but this is definitely not an all-in-one device. It shines with something to sample into it. But I think I have come to the conclusion that we're gonna run the drums on the Woof box, affect them with the KO2 and maybe sample them. Then we're going to run the basses on the MC707 and probably the chords as well. The Microfreak is going to be our lead, and then we're going to have effects over here. Let's go ahead and plug all this crap in. So the first cable I've got here is a TRS 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch here, so that's going to go out of the output of the KO2 and into the main input here on the MC707. All right, just grabbed some cables here. Man, I will tell you, it feels absolutely incredible outside. It's really rainy, but it's 48 degrees Fahrenheit, which I don't know quite what that is in Celsius. I think maybe like 7, 8, 9, something like that. It feels amazing. So we're taking the output of the Woof box into the input of the KO2 here. Okay, we're gonna take the 1/4 inch output of the Microfreak and we're gonna run that into one of the return jacks on the back of the MC707. I don't even think I need MIDI in this setup at all, which is kind of crazy, but I'm just gonna finger drum the drums on the Woof box, and then I'm going to just finger drum, as it were, finger play the chords and the basses on the 707, and then I'll just use the Microfreak keyboard for the lead. Had to raid some cables from the live rig here, so we're gonna go mix out right into input right, mix out left into input left. Now I just need 2 more 1/4 inch cables to run out of the output of the 404 into the H6 for recording. Also, let's take a moment and get power to the 404 there. Okay, left out of the 404 into the left in on the H6 Essential. And then same thing, right out of the 404, over here. Right in of the H6 Essential. Awesome. And a sip of coffee for good measure. I also brought a power bank here with a USB Type B connector for power for the Microfreak. There we go. Just tuck it in there. We also obviously need power here for the H6 Essential. Then the next thing we need to worry about is camera placement. So we're gonna have 2 camera angles. We're gonna have the tripod here, and then we're also gonna have the GoPro that I'm holding now. Not exactly sure where I want the GoPro, maybe like right here, so it can capture some of the synth playing and the finger drumming and the finger chord and bass playing over there. Although I guess I'm not gonna be doing finger drumming here, it's gonna be on the Woof box. But I kind of like that angle. And then I also think the other camera, the G7X, is gonna go up here. Now this is not a very good representation of what the G7X will look like. It's got a lot tighter of a lens, field of view, but it should be pretty solid still. Almost forgot something very important. Headphones. Okay, so I think this is the setup. We've got the Woof box handling the drums, going through the KO2 for some extra effects maybe, some sampling fun. Then we've got the Microfreak going into the 707 to provide a lead. And of course, we'll be throwing effects on that through the 707. We've got the 707 itself for a bass and some chords. And then we're putting the whole thing through the SP404 Mark II That's all being recorded by the H6 Essential. I've got power to everything. I've got my headphones.
So I think that might wrap this one up. I think we're all set up and ready to record. Just need to go throw on the lapel mic and give it a shot. Let me know what you thought of this audio. Hopefully it wasn't too terrible. I know the rain is pounding on the metal roof, but I don't know. I figured I'd give it a shot. This is kind of a different, more casual video anyway. I do hope you found this one informative, maybe entertaining. I don't know.
If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings. Just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Don't miss the Proper Jam video. I'm assuming that's going to be out this Friday, so 2 days after this launches. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.